So I'm joining the Thrifted Creations collaboration this month. And basically you take things that you got at the thrift store and flip them, do something good with them, fix them, upgrade them, whatever. The Thrifted Creations collaboration is hosted by the Grace Life DIY, Home Decor, and Buckeye Girls Wreaths and Things. It's the third Saturday of the month. I have three things. I got a table runner which was sewn incorrectly, so I'm going to be fixing that so I can use it. I had a large piece of fabric that I was going to use to make a gardening apron, but I decided to turn it into a table topper instead. And I'm going to be trying my hand at sewing some napkin rings. I'm jealous of everyone's napkin rings during the Tablescape Tuesdays, but I live in a small cabin and I just do not have room to store a lot of stuff. So I'm looking at ways I can decorate the table, but still have room to store it. So this was an experiment. I'm also trying out three new sewing items I got off from Amazon. One of them is a wool pressing mat that I can go on the table and I can iron small things. I don't have an ironing board and I've been working on towels for years and this is not working. Also, I got a bobbin winder and also some glue, basting glue, so I don't have to pin and baste. So I'll be trying those out today too. So here we go. So here are my thrifted items that I'm going to be fixing, reworking, creating with. I have a couple of bags of scrap fabric. I'm going to be making some napkin rings out of those. I have this table runner that I like a whole lot, but whoever made it made a mistake. I'll go in a little closer so you can see. This is the right side, and then they sewed it on wrong, so it's the wrong side. I'm sure when they saw that they got very mad. I know I would if I had been in their place. So I'm going to take that off and turn it over and sew it the right side, and then I will have a perfectly fine table runner. Finally, I got this upholstery weight fabric at one of my thrift stores, and originally I was going to make an apron out of it. I made a gardening apron for myself last year with a bunch of pockets. I wear it all the time when I'm outside. I'll put my phone in there and my tools and all sorts of stuff. But the one I made is still working fine, and I thought maybe I would just take this and turn it into a tablecloth or a table topper instead. Here are my tools. First of all, the cutting board, the ruler, and the rotary cutter. I'm going to be using that for slicing my fabric. I've made a couple of purchases from Amazon over the last few months, which I think is going to make the sewing process a little more streamlined and more enjoyable. First of all is this ironing mat. It's wool. I've seen it being used on YouTube by other sewers and quilters. It's I think 11 by 15 or something like that. I don't have an ironing board, and I've been ironing on some towels on the table. It's not optimal. This will be really great, portable, and I'm looking forward to using it. Also got this glue baster. It's a temporary basting glue. This is a major game changer. Usually what I have to do is when I'm folding something over to sew, I iron it first, then I pin baste it, then I hand baste it, then I sew it. It's very time consuming. I'll still be folding over and ironing, but if I can put this on and then throw it right on the sewing machine, it's going to save me a lot of time. Also the electric automatic bobbin winder. Really looking forward to using that. I'll also be using my iron here and my sewing machine. So let's get started. This is real easy. I folded it, put the ruler against the seam I want to remove, and have my rotary cutter. I'm going to just run the rotary cutter down this ruler and separate the two pieces, and I'll be able to flip them and sew them. Liberated! Now I'm going to turn it around and pin it in a couple places and set it aside for sewing. Here we are, one straight seam, about 2 minutes on the sewing machine, and I'll have a really nice table runner here. Okay, on to turning this piece of fabric into a tablecloth slash table topper. I just measured it. It's a little short of a full square. So basically I'm going to fold this in a triangle, figure out what the square is actually, and then cut off the excess. So I folded it into a triangle to make a square and to see what the excess is. And here is the excess, so I'm going to take my rotary cutter and just slice that off. If you don't have a rotary cutter or this is just too big, you can also take a ruler and just run a pencil or some sewing chalk along here to make a line and cut along that. All right, I went ahead and trued up all the edges here. You want to do that even if you're cutting at the end of a long piece like I am. You don't want things to go haywire higher up. So I've just folded it all, pinned it so it's I can see that everything is straight. Here's the actual cutting edge. I measured up 5 inches from the bottom there and put some tailor chalk, and I'm going to lay my ruler against that and then use it as the guide for cutting. And here it is, ready to go. And here it is, cut off, and the piece of fabric that's left is square. One thing I realized as I'm doing this morning is that I need to go to Joann's or Michael's and get some new blades for my rotary cutter. It was a little rougher than it needed to be, and I think my blades are just dull. Our next step is going to be to turn these raw edges over, iron them and sew them, but I'm not taking the ironing board out quite yet because I want to do one more project and get that ready to go for the ironing board and the sewing machine, so I'm going to do that first. Then we'll iron and sew. Today's final project is going to be cloth napkin rings. I'm going to make some out of this pretty fabric that we just cut up, the remnants. And then I have some quilting project from about 30 years ago, which I am never going to complete, so I'm going to use these to also make napkin rings. So let's get started. So I've cut these about 5.5 inches by 5 inches. The 5.5 inches is the part that's going to go around the napkin, so it's like the width of it, and the height is 5 inches, and we're going to fold that 5 inches in half. So this is what it's going to look like going around the napkin ring. So if you have fabric with a particular design or something you want highlighted, then cut accordingly. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn these edges over and iron them, both ends. Then I'm going to bring them together and top stitch them. So I'm going to get the ironing board out right now and do this and the tablecloth. So I have my nice new ironing board pad here and my iron. For these napkin rings, I'm going to go ahead and just turn them over once, about 1/4 inch along the long 5.5 inch side. For the tablecloth, I'm going to do about 1/2 inch and then another 1/2 inch. You can do this smaller too, but I have a really hard time sewing along the edge here without going over if it's too small. So I'm going to get started doing that. I've got my 1/4 inch turned over and ironed, and now I'm going to put this in half like this, match up those ironed edges, and then iron the whole thing in half, making a crease down here at the bottom. Well, my ironing is all done. I am going to just leave the napkin rings as is, but I think I will put a little bit of that basting glue on this, maybe some pins and some basting glue. Something interesting happened with this mat. I don't know if you can see, it got a little bit scorched. Nothing has affected it badly, but I was using the iron at like the cotton linen highest temperature, and it did leave some scorch marks. Everything is fine. Its integrity is intact. But if you buy one of these, it's something you should be aware of. I'm also ironing this up, the little runner we started everything up with. If you're ever in a situation where you don't have an iron or you just need to get some wrinkles out of stuff, I've got this liquid called Wrinkle Release. This I happen to get at Dollar Tree. It's not the greatest. There are other brands, and next time I'm not going to get this particular Wrinkle Release, but it works very well. You can leave your clothes or whatever on the hanger, spray some of this on, smooth it out with your hands, and it will actually remove the wrinkles. So I'm going to be trying this glue-based for the first time that I got on Amazon. It's a bottle of glue that I guess comes out when you iron it or when you wash it. It comes with the cap and 2 of these little needle dispensers. And evidently you just take the glue base, you put the cap with the needle dispenser on the top, and you put little tiny droplets along the area you want to baste. So I'm going to give that a try. I'm going to do it on my two little napkin rings, and I'm going to try a stretch of the tablecloth. Those little white dots are the glue. I just dab them along the edge, and I'm going to fold this up and press it and hold it pressed for a second. They said it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to dry. Then I'll be ready to sew. Well, I've put this together the best I can. The instructions and diagram are strangely uninformative. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Well, this is what bad directions look like. I finally found some good directions on YouTube. Somebody made a video, and my bobbin is all wound. I really do love this. But boy, the directions were bad. So I've got my napkin rings right in here and ready to go. This is the side that was glue basted. You can see it. And I'm going to top stitch along that, which will also close it. And this was the folded side, and I'm going to top stitch along that too. I have several sewing machines. This brother one I got at Walmart for $75 right before the pandemic started. I've used it multiple times for all sorts of things. It's a real workhorse. I paid it off pretty quickly by doing mending for people. Here it is top stitched, both ends of it. This is ready to go. I'm going to stitch along this open end to close it along the top, then I'm going to top stitch along here. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew these raw edges together. I cut a little zigzag along that sewn open seam, and now I'm going to turn them inside out. Okay, here they are ready. Finally, I'm going to sew up that piece of the runner and do the hem on this tablecloth, then I will do a reveal. Everything is all fixed and finished. I'm going to clean up my sewing supplies and we'll see how everything looks on the table. Well, here is the first item I mended, and that is the table runner that I had to turn this end around so the right side was up. It is a very cute little piece. I cannot say that I am crazy about the seam here at the end, but I paid $2 for the whole runner and it took about 20 minutes to fix. So yes, I am satisfied. I can hide that seam with dishes or plants or something, but it has given me just a little more options when it comes to setting my table. Really happy with how this came out. The fabric maybe cost $2 or $3, the thrift store, upholstery weight, and a little time spent hemming. It's perfect on the diagonal for this table, and it'll fit very well on a smaller table. I have some smaller tables too. I'm really pleased with how these napkin rings came out. I would not change the length of these. I believe I said 5.5 inches. You're going to need that to make a ring that's big enough for your napkins, but you certainly are welcome to change the width if you like a narrower band. So I'm going to be playing with that quite a bit, but I do like what I've done so far. So that's how I spent my day a few weeks ago. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for watching.